Alright, here we were. I was touching up my picture of Brilliant that I have vectorized from my sketch. There's still a few more things that need to be done. For example, I need to fix the belt and the pants here. So I'll select these and then bring these in because I had reshaped the torso. I'm looking at everything from a flipped perspective because I always see things that I didn't see earlier when I do flip the perspective. I see things that I'm completely oblivious to before. And it's just because the mind is typically trained to see something a certain way. If you always draw something at a certain perspective or draw a certain curve on something a certain way with one orientation, seeing it from the other orientation, then you all of a sudden realize just how it might look. It kind of gives you a fresh perspective, almost as if you have a different set of eyes on it. So let's see. He's just kind of casually sitting there with his arm across his stomach. Probably bring this in a little bit more. Might even bring that in. Now there's not really a background for him. When I had the sketch background, I just kind of had these boxes behind him. So it could be open. He could be sitting on some bales of hay, or I could have him leaning against maybe in a tree or just something. I could be creative with that. Typically, the focus for me is drawing the characters, and the background is pretty much secondary. The characters are where the interest is for me. So this looks awkward to me for some reason. So I'll try to do what I can to fix that. Probably draw some belt loops too, since I realized that I forgot belt loops. And this is just kind of the touch-up phase. This is where I go through and adjust things that I'm free to adjust in vectors, whereas before, everything was on paper, and I couldn't really easily adjust things so much. The belt loops will be on the outline layer, and they'll be the normal outline width, which I'm having to be 3 pixels for now. So select those, make symmetric. I'll just copy and paste, since it's kind of a shortcut. Page down. Alright, and the belt needs to be below it, so I'll hit page down on that, and then this needs to be below the belt. So sometimes you just have to see where things are, hit page up and page down to get things where you want them to go. Now I'll copy and paste this again. This time I will go to Object, Flip Horizontal, and then I will use this on this side, and I will rotate it, and I will scale it, and I'll stick it right here, page down. Now, my hope was that I could get it under this piece of this line right here, but I can't because that's not going to work. So I'll just adjust it like so. Okay, now it's got belt loops. And the more you add, the more realistic it looks. The more, I say realistic, the more convincing the image is. These look like they're too far along the line. I want those a little further out, I guess, because it doesn't, it's not the edge of the shape, it's the edge of this, it's just a seam. If it's along the edge of the shape, then it looks a little funky. This I want to be a sharper image, so I'll do make corner on that, and I will adjust that handle. I'll delete this node, and then I've got something that you can kind of tell is a little more contour fitting, I think. These, I might adjust these as well. They bug me a little bit. Not bad, but a little. Bring that in, I guess. Okay, now this leg is awkward. Somewhat awkward. Not terribly so. First of all, drawing anthropomorphic horse legs that are digitigrade is an interesting thing. So digitigrade means that the joint is, the ankle is not the ankle. It's the basically what you've got is you've got a knee, and then you've got another joint, which is your which would be your heel. But on a horse, it just bends. It's another joint that's almost like a reverse of the knee that is, you know, middle. I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this. All right, now I've got these. I want to bring these in a little bit. I've drawn Braillion's legs so many different ways, trying to get a feel for what shapes are the best shapes to use. This is kind of where I'm at right now. Where the way I draw his legs, you know, a week from now might be different, but this is what I've been using right now. Kind of brings the ankle joint down to a lower point, but it's still horsey enough, I think. What I'll often do when I draw my characters is I will use DAZ Studio. It's a free download, and it will give you some freedom to pose models in forms that are actually posable. You have either a male model or a female model. I think you have to download the male model separate, though. And you can just kind of use that as a reference. So what I did actually was I posed this particular pose that Braillion's in. Of course, the legs don't work because his legs are not human legs; they bend different. But for the rest of the rest of the shape, it's fine. It helps quite a bit, I think, because then you have a good reference in the pose you're wanting to use. Okay, I'm seeing it in my mind where the hoof needs to start, but it's just a little tricky to implement, I think. Also, something with characters, somehow it works good to have big feet, I think. Not anything that's overly ridiculous, but if you think about it, a hoof is just kind of a narrow foot, and what, you know, a human foot is going to be a broader walking surface, and it looks a little awkward to me if you have a horse character with just a narrow hoof. I mean, there'd be no way he'd be able to balance. It just doesn't seem like a natural solution. So if you want a horse character with hooves for feet, make them broader, I think. there's kind of a little platform, I guess is what you'd call it, kind of in the back of the hoof, just a little a nook. And I'm trying to duplicate that. Okay, and I want this to come a little steeper. Alright, this part of the video probably is less interesting than some of the other parts, so I may just stop the video here and continue on if I don't come up with a solution soon. Although I feel like I might be close. Part of it might be these detail lines are a little are angled, kind of opposing the direction I want the hoof to go. Okay. Almost there. Okay. Alright, I think that's acceptable for now. Well, I say that. I want to bring this in just a smidgen. There. Okay. For now, anyways. The tail looks like this should be a little more out if it's draping over something. Don't want it to look too artificial. And it does need to be narrower down here. Okay, so there is Brillian sitting detailed and outlined. I'll go ahead and flip the orientation back like I had it. Object, flip horizontal. And I can put the sketch layer back in there. You can actually see how things have changed a little bit. Like he's less elongated. Make the detail partially transparent. So you can see some of the lines have changed. The hooves have changed, obviously. Okay, so there we go. Next step will be either background or coloring. Coloring is pretty simple. The gradients, he's a bay horse. He's got bay markings on his arms and legs and his nose. So that I use gradients for those. Then the ears and the nipples have a color also. It's just another variation of brown. And then the bandanas are light blue, and the shorts are also blue. They're jean shorts. So, all right, there we go. There you have it.